So hi, I'm Gábor Hojtsy, and this talk is about the state of Drupal 9. I'm Gábor Hojtsy, and I created this slideshow as an open source slideshow. So anybody can present this. I created this at Acquia. There were a bunch of contributors that helped refine the message and also fix all kinds of bugs. So you can find this slide on slides.com. Here's a QR code that make that easy. And you can present this anywhere, your meetup company, etc. I keep this up to date, so I just updated this yesterday or 2 days ago. So it's the latest information possible. I am Gábor Hojtsy. I work for Acquia for quite a long time now. I'm the initiative coordinator for Drupal 9. I'm a Drupal core contributor since 2003. I'm a core committer since 2007. I used to be a Drupal 6 release manager, so I held multiple hats in the Drupal community. I also enjoy event organization. I was one of the leads for Drupal Europe, and I know the feeling of getting together, even an online event, is quite a feat. So congrats for getting this event together. So the first thing that I wanted to ask is, are you using Drupal 7? Which may be an interesting question on a session about Drupal 9, but a majority of Drupal users are using Drupal 7 today. So even though we have Drupal 9 released, and this session will briefly even cover Drupal 10, but the majority of Drupal users are still in Drupal 7. And so I think that's a key thing to cover to start with. So the way we built Drupal 8 from Drupal 7 is we took Drupal 7, we forked it, and we went on a side road, and we went and started experimenting with what could be better. We started using external libraries. We started refactoring a bunch of code of our own. We've added a bunch of new modules. So we basically went happy with refactoring whatever we wanted, and it was great. For core development, we could get a lot of things done, and it was amazing. It was not amazing for users because we basically refactored Drupal to almost entirely different system. It was also not great for contributed module authors because they need to do a lot of work to update to Drupal 8. It was also actually not great for Drupal core contributors because they didn't know if they contribute something, how long they need to wait for it to end up in Drupal core. So they built out something. It may took a year or 2 or 3 for it to be released out to the public. And it was also not great for keeping timelines or having any time goals, because this kind of development can go on however long we want. So, I mean, we wanted to refactor this, and okay, by the way, we also want to refactor this and this and this. And this is the kind of approach that could go however long we want. So that was not really sustainable. This kind of refactoring definitely allowed us to do a bunch of new great things. The API first initiative and the big pipe rendering pipeline was all made possible by this re-architecture. So there's a bunch of great things that we did. Also, reusing code from the rest of the PHP community is great. We don't need to build everything in-house. So there's a bunch of good things that we gained from this, but there was also a lot of pain that we had in the process. So if you need to come from Drupal 7 now, you need to do a rebuild of your Drupal site, basically. So first, you need to use the upgrade status module to estimate the availability of contributed projects for Drupal 8 or 9. This module, the Drupal 7 version, when you install a new Drupal 7 site, is going to tell you if the modules you're using on that site are available for Drupal 8/9 or not. Then you have your custom code. For that, we suggest you use the Drupal module upgrader. And there's been a bunch of improvements to that recently as well that I will briefly cover next. So that's for your custom code. It will not convert your custom code to fully Drupal 9 compatible, but it will do a bunch of the work that as much as can be automated for the most common scenarios. And then there's the migrate suite of modules, both in core and contributed modules, that help you actually transport the data from your Drupal 7 site to Drupal 8 or 9. And these are basically the key tools that you need to use. This is going to be a bunch of work because you need to find the modules, you need to convert your custom code, including your themes, you need to migrate your data, and all of them will have some manual work involved that you need to also do. There are some improvements with the release of Drupal 9, though, to these tools. The Drupal module upgrader rules now generate code that is both Drupal 8 and 9 compatible. And how that is even remotely possible, we'll cover that soon. And the migrate multilingual core modules are now stable. So that was the remaining unstable part of the migrate module suite in core. Is now stable in 8.9 and 9.0. So if you have multiple languages on the site, you can now migrate with the stable core module suite. In terms of the time you have, so what kind of timeline you're looking at, this is the timeline for Drupal 7. The Drupal 7 security and bug fix support has been extended to the end of 2021 November. So historically, the previous Drupal major release support would end when we release the next major version. That's not the case for Drupal 7. It's been extended with a year and a half. So there's going to be more bug fix releases, and there was actually a bug fix release on June 3rd, and there was a security release of Drupal 7 since then. So we are supporting Drupal 7 and fixing issues and making it better. But this is when community support ends. And then starting November 2021, there's vendor extended commercial support. So you can, or your customers can sign up with vendors that going to support Drupal 7 up to at least 3 more years, up to the end of 2024. So that's quite a long support timeline, I guess. If you're signing up with vendors, that's going to be a very extensive support timeline that we haven't seen for earlier Drupal versions. So we've seen that this is painful, it's hard, people need more time to update. So we wanted to make this different for Drupal 8 onwards. So innovation model of Drupal 8 onwards is very different from what we did in Drupal 7. For comparison, what we've had in Drupal 7 is we've had Drupal 7 and we forked it to Drupal 8 and we went happy and we rewrote a bunch of things. What we did for Drupal 8 to 9 and what we are doing from Drupal 9 to 10 is we built most of Drupal 9 in Drupal 8. So we put in all the new things in Drupal 8 and we put in all of the promises of what's going to change for Drupal 9 into Drupal 8. So people using Drupal 8 were gradually updating to a version closer and closer to Drupal 9. And we've also had the definition of Drupal 9 mostly built into Drupal 8. So let's see how did we do that. So first was semantic versioning, which means we've had a 3-component version number scheme. We've had a major version number, minor version number, and a patch version number. And the major version number is the version number that we would increase when we have backwards incompatibility changes. The minor version number, which I like to call feature version number because minor is not really giving it justice, is the version number that we are increasing when we release new features that are still compatible with the major version. And then for patch release numbers, we release bug fixes in the patch releases. So the minor version number is the most interesting, I think, for us because it allowed us to release new features in Drupal 8 without requiring a new major version release, without requiring backwards incompatibility breaks. So users can enjoy new features, and people building the new features can get them out to users sooner. And by sooner, what we did is we also got scheduled releases. So by sooner, we implemented a way to release these new features twice a year. It's currently being released in June and December to get these new features out to people twice a year so that all of these new innovations are in the hands of people much sooner. But there were things that are just not possible to get done in half a year. So for those things, we've introduced experimental projects in core. which allow us to release features that are not yet done, are being built to be done later in time. But we release them as beta experimental features in core, so people can try them out and people can provide feedback to us. So scheduled releases allow us to get features out much sooner to people, and experimental projects allow us to get features out even if they're not done, by clearly marking them as features that we need to stabilize still. So this allowed us to do a bunch of new things. We got layout builder in core as experimental. Then we stabilized it. We got media library, media module in core, and then media library in core. And then we stabilized it. We got big pipe in core, and then we stabilized it. We got the new PHP unit system in core, and we replaced simple test with that. So this model allowed us to do a lot of innovations in core, and even like system level things like this new layout builder or the media library. So the question is, could we have gone on this model forever and release new features and backwards compatible and shiny and everybody happy in this system? Unfortunately, that is not possible. So we got a lot of benefits from using third-party PHP and JavaScript dependencies, but we also got some responsibilities by depending on other projects. So Drupal, these are major dependencies, third-party dependencies of Drupal: Symfony 3.4 in Drupal 8, Twig 1, jQuery 3, jQuery UI, and Cicada 4. And these projects, we all benefit from these projects. We don't need to implement our own HTTP handling system. We don't need to implement our own theme system. We don't need to implement our own JavaScript abstraction layer or our own Visivig editor. It's great. We are not experts in all of those areas, so we can't be implementing them all for ourselves. But it also means that we need to align with the release schedule of these projects. So we need to take their release schedules into account. And our biggest dependency, Symfony, has a release schedule that basically required us to move on from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9. So what happens is Symfony 3 will be end of life in 2021 November. So that also means that the Drupal 8 security and bug fix support needs to end in 2021 November. So we need to move on from Drupal 8 latest in 2021 November. And so from that, it means that we needed to release Drupal 9 somewhat earlier so that people have time to prepare for Drupal 9 to move on from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9. So that's why we targeted the release of Drupal 9 for June 3rd, 2020, and we made it happen. And so we'll continue working on Drupal 9 onwards. And this is where some crystal balling comes in, because now we need to talk about how long we have on Drupal 9, because these external dependencies, more of them will be end of life sometime soon. So there's the Symfony 4 end of life around 2023 November. And the Cicada 4 end of life is also at the end of 2023. So we'll need to do something about that. We can't depend on Cicada 4 and Symfony 4 beyond that timeline. So that's when likely we'll need to end of life Drupal 9. So that's in basically 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years, 3.5 years. We'll need to end of life Drupal 9. And that also means that we'll need to release Drupal 10 somewhat sooner, probably sometime middle 2022. So this is somewhat of a crystal balling. Take this as a defined, set in stone schedule. But our current thinking is that Drupal 10 will be released in 2 years, in 2020, middle of 2022. In 2 years. So that means that we just released Drupal 9 and it's going to be over in 2 years. That's quite a mind-blowing situation, right? So I just said that it was so hard to update from Drupal 7, and now I'm saying that we're going to have 2 major releases in 2 years' time. That's quite mind-blowing. So what I'm trying to convey here is that we'll learn from the hard update from Drupal 7, And we know that we need to release major versions much more often than we used to release. So what we are doing is to make this major upgrade process much easier than it was before. So that's the final piece of how we are resolving this process, is how we make this process from Drupal 8 to 9 to 10 much easier than it was before. And that's deprecation processes. So what we've introduced in Drupal 8 is we are adding all the new things for Drupal 9.0 into Drupal 8 as much as possible before the release of Drupal 9. That's what we did. And we are also marking all of the things that we remove in Drupal 9 in Drupal 8. So basically, if you download Drupal 8, the latest version of Drupal 8, then we have all of the definitions of these are the things we're going to remove in Drupal 9, and these are all the new things that will be in Drupal 9 within the latest version of Drupal 8. And then we just executed what we promised in Drupal 8 in Drupal 9, and so the update is much easier. It's not a wholly different code base. So schematically, this is how that looks like. We've had, let's say, the Drupal 8.7 API. We've added a new solution for something, and we said that this is going to remove, we're also going to remove this old solution, but we keep it around for Drupal 8. And then we kept on, in Drupal 8.8 and 8.9, we've had more new solutions and more deprecated parts. And basically what we do what we did in Drupal 9 is we removed all of the things we said we are going to remove that were deprecated. And we kept all of the new solutions that we've already had in Drupal 8, and we kept them in Drupal 9. And we've updated the third-party dependencies. So that's what Drupal 9 is removing all the things we said we're going to remove and updating the things that we need to update. So in other words, the Drupal 9 API is the same as the 8.9 API minus deprecated parts plus the third-party dependencies updated. So that's why we did it for Drupal 9. And this makes it much easier to update to Drupal 9 because it also means that you can have Drupal 8 code and not using the gray parts. You could have Drupal 8 code that is compatible with Drupal 8 and Drupal 9 at the same time. So you can have Drupal 8 code that works with Drupal 8 and 9 at the same time. And this has never been possible before. This is a whole new paradigm and makes it much easier to update to Drupal 9 and also do this update gradually on your Drupal 8 site. And we'll cover the process for how to do that shortly. But first, if you want to go and just try out Drupal 9 now, assuming you have PHP on the command line or also Composer on your command line, this is the easiest way to try out Drupal 9 in that case. So you go Composer, create projects, Drupal recommended project 900, you give it a name, and then you can run the quick start command from Drupal core, included in Drupal core, and run the Umami demo. And spoiler alert, this is going to look like exactly the same as the Umami demo in Drupal 8 looks like, because Drupal 9 has no new features on top of Drupal 8. It's just removing the deprecated parts and keeping all the new things that we already had in Drupal 8. Okay. So this is the easiest way to try out Drupal 9, assuming you already have Composer and you already have PHP on your command line. So what do you do if you already have Drupal 8 and you want to update to Drupal 9? Let's cover that next. So first of all, you need to ensure that your environment is compatible with Drupal 9. Drupal 9 has some updated compatibility requirements. So you need PHP 7.3, you need MySQL 5.7.8, you need, if you use Postgres, there's an updated requirement. If you use SQLite, there's an updated requirement. Basically, we've updated the environment requirements, so we are based on versions that have support for at least 3 years that we support Drupal 9. PHP 7.3 may not actually be supported for 3 years, so we are working on building PHP 8 support into Drupal 9. That's for a future version of Drupal 9. So first, you need to ensure that your environment is compatible. This will still work with Drupal 8, so you can update your environment under your Drupal 8 site. then you need to keep your Drupal 8 core up to date. I suggest you update to the latest Drupal 8 version, but basically the latest Drupal 8 you have, the more of Drupal 9 you have in your Drupal 8. And only upgrades from Drupal 8.8 and 8.9 are going to be supported for updates. So you need to be on either on 8.8 or 8.9 because 8.7 is not supported anymore now that we released 8.9. So you need to be on one of these versions. These are the only versions we can fix upgrade bugs if they appear, etc. So you need to update to these first on your Drupal 8 site. Then you update your contributed projects to their latest versions because they keep becoming Drupal 9 compatible. And how you tell that they are Drupal 9 compatible, this is how you tell from the project page. If you go to the project page, the releases outline their Drupal 8.9 requirements. So if you go look at the requires line there, it says Drupal 8.8 and 9 is supported by token 8x17. If you go to the web form project page, it says that the 6.0.0 alpha 2 supports Drupal 8 or 9. So these are two very different version numbers, but they indicate that they support 8 and 9, or 8 or 9, if you install them. So this is how it breaks down. So if you go to 8x17, we've seen it from the project page, it supports 8 and 9. This is how it looks like in the info file. So you go into the info file and says that they has a core version requirement 8.8 or 9. So this is a new key that we've introduced with Drupal 8.7.7 and 8.8.9, and that's 8.8.0, and that basically says that your project is compatible with both of these. And if you use this, then you don't need to use the core key anymore, because this version doesn't require the core key anymore if you use core version requirement. So this allows us to have projects that are both compatible with Drupal 8 and Drupal 9. And this is a bit cumbersome because you still have 8x17 in the version number. So that kind of indicates that it's a Drupal 8 module, but it's actually also a Drupal 9 module. So that's a bit awkward. But we have a solution for that. And that is what you see with the web form module. So for the web form module, it says it's 6.0.0 alpha 2. And it's compatible with both Drupal 8 and 9. So this is not a Drupal 6 module. It says 6, but it's not a Drupal 6 module. If it would be a Drupal 6 module, it would be 6.x dash something. So this is a module that's compatible with both Drupal 8 and 9 and is using the new semantic versioning scheme for contributed projects on Drupal.org. So this is now available for all projects on Drupal.org. They can start adapting this. And the benefit of using this model is it doesn't have the major compatibility version number, 8x, in the prefix anymore, because these 8x modules can also be compatible with 9x. So it's became misleading that we now have version numbers that seem to indicate that they are only Drupal 8 compatible, even though it doesn't really mean that anymore. So some modules will continue releasing 8x versions, and some modules start adapting the new semantic versioning scheme. Neither is an explicit requirement right now. In both cases, you go to the project page and you can verify there that it's compatible with 8 or 9. And that helps you build your sites. So the question is how far we are with compatibility. And this very good news is that we are quite far. So this is data from last Friday, is the latest data that we have. The top 200 projects, 87% of them are explicitly Drupal 9 compatible. So that means that they use the core version requirement key to tell users that they could be installed on Drupal 9. And a bunch of them only have info YAML file changes that they need to do or already covered by automation tools. If you look at all of the projects, there's 9,081 projects on Drupal.org that are Drupal 8 compatible. And of them, 2,674 are explicitly compatible and 2,834 only need an info YAML file change. So if you add up those two for all of the projects, altogether 60%, 60% of them either explicitly compatible or only need to change the info file to add this information that they are compatible. 60%. So that's, I think, is worlds apart from the change required from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. So I think we've been very successful in introducing this model of deprecations and the way you can update projects for Drupal 9. So now you have your contributed projects. You also need to work on removing deprecated API use from your own custom projects. So you have your custom projects, nobody else is going to do it for you. We have some tools to do that update, and I'm going to show them to you briefly very soon. And now, step 4, you have a Drupal 8 website that is running on the latest version of Drupal 8. You have contributed projects that on your Drupal 8 site that are compatible with Drupal 9. You have your custom projects on your Drupal 8 site that are also compatible with Drupal 9. So now you have a Drupal 8 website that is other than Drupal core. Everything is Drupal 9 compatible. Everything other than Drupal core is Drupal 9 compatible. So the only step left here is to update Drupal core itself to Drupal 9. So basically all the preparations that you do, you can do on your Drupal 8 site. Your Drupal 8 site can still be live. It can still run. It can still take data. It can still take interactions from users. All the steps you're doing on a Drupal 8 site. And the last step is to update to Drupal 9. And everything is updated to Drupal 9 by that point, to be Drupal 9 compatible by that point. So to recap, you do 4 steps on your Drupal 8 site. You ensure your environment is Drupal 9 compatible. You keep your Drupal 8 core up to date, latest version. You update your contributed projects and ensure that they are 9 compatible. You remove your deprecated API use in your custom projects and ensure that they are Drupal 9 compatible. And now you have a Drupal 8 site that's Drupal 9 compatible other than core. And then you update core. And you're done. You're Drupal 9 compatible. So that's your process for Drupal 8. So when we say this is the easiest Drupal upgrade in a decade, if you're on Drupal 8, this is what we mean by that. Okay, so let's look at the tools that you can use for this process. So this is how a deprecation message looks like in Drupal. Basically, we have an annotation comment in our code that says this is deprecated in Drupal 8.5 and will be removed from 9. And we have a trigger error message that basically says the same. And then we have a backwards compatible implementation that still works in Drupal 8, even though we said we're going to remove this in Drupal 9. And so what we did in Drupal 9 is we removed Drupal set message. We don't have Drupal set message anymore in Drupal 9. You can use your Drupal 8 site to find all of these uses of these deprecated APIs and then remove their uses of them gradually. We have a tool for that. It's called upgrade status. It has an environment check at the top. It checks your PHP version, Apache version, MySQL version, etc. Tells you if your environment is ready. And then it has your contributed projects and tells you about all of the deprecated API uses that it finds in your contributed projects. And then it has a section for contributed projects. And then it tells you about available updates for contributed projects. So you can keep up to date with them and take in their Drupal 9 compatible versions gradually. And it also tells you about their Drupal 9 plans in case they are documented, how they are doing, and the issues that you can still help with for them to become Drupal 9 compatible. And then it tells you the actual errors found in case there are still errors that you can help with in the issue queue. And then it also tells you about the errors that have automated fixes available. So upgrade status will tell you about which of the errors have automated fixes where you don't need to do manual work for them to be fixed. And so there's also a tool called Upgrade Rector, which is a user interface on top of a fantastic tool called Drupal Rector that does these automated fixes for things. So here, the Drupal set message is replaced with the messenger method's add status method. right? So there's automated fixes for a bunch of these available. In fact, we scan all of Contrib for deprecated API use, and currently 42% of all of the issues of all of Drupal.org projects are covered by automated tools. So almost half of the work people don't need to do because we have the automated tools available to fix those issues. And we went one step further and built a bot, a project upgrade bot, that goes into projects on Drupal.org and posts patches, automated patches, based on the output of this tool for projects to be automatically updated to Drupal 9. And if the bot recognizes that the fixes are fixing all of the issues in the project, then it also updates the info YAML file in the project. So we have automations for Drupal.org projects to take in these fixes from Drupal Rector. But you can also run Drupal Rector locally to fix the issues in your custom code or in the contributed projects that they are running and they need help. I have links to these projects in the slides. So at the end, I will share the link to the slides again, and then you can go there and click all the links and find all of the tools in case Google is not helping you out. And then once you fixed all of the issues, obviously the best thing to do is to run your automated tests against Drupal 9. So take Drupal 9 itself and run this project's automated tests on Drupal 9. That's the best case scenario. Ideally, you have a lot of tests for your projects. If that's not the case, if you don't have tests or you don't have enough coverage from your tests, then and you have a Drupal.org project, then Drupal.org allows you to run this static analysis on your code. So you can run PHP stan on your code in Drupal.org using Drupal 8, which still has the deprecated APIs. So you can run all of this static analysis and tells you about the errors found. And we also built a tool on dev.acquia.com that visualizes the results from Drupal.org's scanning of contributed projects. So you can go and look at the state of any of the 9,081 contributed projects, which kind of errors they have, what kind of errors you can go and help with. We have links to the Drupal 9 plans of projects. We indicate which of the issues have automated fixes available. So it's really a great dashboard to look at the readiness of the contributed projects and help out with the contributed projects. I would like to especially thank the India community for coming for Drupal 9 porting weekend and Drupal 9 porting day. Before that, it's been incredible to see all of the contributions that you all made to the project to make contributed projects Drupal 9 compatible. Thank you. Keep up the great work. So these are all the tools that you can use for getting ready for Drupal 9. So the question remains, what are the new features of Drupal 9? And it's a trick question. Because I already told you there are no new features of Drupal 9. So the big deal about Drupal 9 is that it should not be a big deal because it's an easy upgrade. So I think the one big feature that people were always asking or would have asked for is an easy upgrade path for a major version, is a feature that we didn't deliver before. Now we delivered it, and I think that's great. But we will continue releasing new versions of Drupal 9, minor versions, that, as I said, I like to call feature versions because it's much more exciting to call them that, because those are the versions that we are going to release new features in. And so the first interesting new features feature that we hope to deliver would be the Claro admin theme that is already included in Drupal 8, but it would be important to stabilize it, to make it stable so that people can use it and include it as the new default admin theme of Drupal core to make it default. So even though it's already in core, we want to make it stable and default in future versions of Drupal 9. There's a bunch of work that needs to go into this. And your help is welcome. There's the #admin UI channel on Drupal Slack where the discussions for making this happen are taking place for the Claro admin theme. There's also the Workspaces experimental project. It would be great to get stable. It's a very exciting module to stage and publish packages of content all together. If you have pages with media and menu items, etc. And you can package it all together, stage and publish on Drupal sites and get it through a moderation workflow. It's really powerful and can do a lot of great things. So that would be a new feature because you could actually start using it on live sites. Media and Layout Builder are in core as stable modules, but they're not used in the standard profile. So it would be great to see them like standard features like views, where certain pages of Drupal are basically built with views. So if certain pages of Drupal would be built with Layout Builder, and you can just go in and customize the admin pages to create a dashboard, or customize the content pages to create a more interesting layout, that would be very powerful. That would show off the best practice of Layout Builder as we want people to use. There's also the Help Topics experimental project in Drupal 8 that would focus us on topic-based help instead of module-based help. Instead of how we implemented a feature, it focuses on how you want to do something with Drupal that is much more closer to what a user would want. So that's another thing that needs to be built out and stabilized. There is the Olivero front-end theme that is not yet included with Drupal, but is being built in Contrib. And they're currently at an alpha stage, but hope to have a beta version soon. And this is a proposed new front-end theme for Drupal core. It's hopefully being included in a future version of Drupal 9. So when you install Drupal 9, then it comes with a beautiful new front-end theme instead of Bartik, which is nice, but has been in Drupal core for quite some time. Then there's the whole question of what do we do with CKEditor 4. So it goes unsupported before we end of life Drupal 9. So we need to move on from CKEditor 4 for Drupal 10. And CKEditor 5 is an interesting option because it allows competitive editing if you have a server component. Collaborative editing, if you have a server component. So you can have a Google Docs-like experience in CKEditor 5, assuming a server. It's one of the possible options that we can move to from CKEditor 4, but it's going to be a lot of work to do. And there's more to come. Dries Beutert ran a Drupal product survey that the results are going to be shared at the DrupalCon Global Dries Note. That's going to be in less than 4 weeks now. So if you are available to attend that event, I would suggest you attend and experience it live. There's going to be discussions at DrupalCon Global about these initiatives that I've just outlined and probably some more as well. So the final question is, when can you get it? When can you get Drupal 9? Now, of course, because Drupal 9 was released 2 weeks ago, a little bit more than 2 weeks ago. So we released Drupal 9 stable on June 3rd, 2020. And for some of the rest of the features, the first feature release, the first manual release of Drupal 9 is 9.1, and that's scheduled for December 2nd, 2020. And as I said, there's going to be 2 more feature releases of Drupal 9, 9.2 and 9.3, and then we plan to move on to Drupal 10, and we'll see how that goes. So in summary, Drupal 7 to 8.9 is the last big step that you need to take. And there's vendor extended support available if you are not ready yet to make that big step. And there's also open source support for Drupal 7 until the end of next year as well. And Drupal 8 to 9 is the easiest upgrade in a decade because you need to keep up with Drupal 8 in your Drupal 8 site. You need to remove your undeprecated API use that we have tools with. And then you still have a fully working Drupal 8 site that is ready for Drupal 9. And then when all of the components are ready, you move to Drupal 9. So you are getting ready in your Drupal 8 site. You don't need to maintain a separate site and try it out and make it ready for Drupal 9. This is much easier than it was before. Contributed modules and contributed projects are getting ready at an unprecedented pace. So most of the things are ready that you want to build a new Drupal site with. And then Drupal 9 will continue to get new and exciting features as it goes on. Drupal 8 will not get new and exciting features anymore. It will only get bug fixes and security fixes until the end of next year. So if you want to read more and discuss, there's a Drupal 9 landing page at drupal.org/9. You can once again look at the status of contributed projects on dev.acquia.com/Drupal9. Ask your questions on drupal.slack.com on the D9 readiness channel. If you are already interested in Drupal 10, then there's a D10 readiness channel as well. For Drupal 9 readiness, we have Slack meetings every other Monday at 7 p.m. UTC. Our next Drupal 9 readiness Slack meeting is on Monday next week at 7 p.m. UTC. You're welcome to join. Thank you for listening in. Here's my slides with clickable links and all the speaker notes that you can read up. And here's the timeline slide that I will put up while I'm taking questions in case I have time left.
Yes, you do. It's right on the dot, to be honest. Thank you so much for this information that you've shared through the session. We do have a question right now, though I'm sensing that your session was informational enough that we don't have a lot of questions at this point. So, folks, if you have any more questions, feel free to pour them into the Q&A section, and I'll put forward the first question that we have at this point. So, Jaideep asks, when can we expect the complete removal of old style of naming project release versions? Example 8.x or 3.4, 8.x-3.4. Since right now both the old version and the new semantic versioning are applied, I think that's what he means. Do we have any blocker on this to mark the old version naming as deprecated?
Yeah, we are not. We don't have a firm plan on when that's going to be the case. It's currently both of them are supported. Drupal 9 supports 8x projects, and Drupal and 9x projects are not even possible to create. So if you go in Drupal.org, you try to create a 9.x project, it's not possible to do anymore. So if you want to do a project that is only Drupal 9 compatible, then because you're using something new in Drupal 9, like something in Symfony 4 or something like that, that is not possible to do in Drupal 8, then you will need to start using the semantic versioning scheme. There is no current plan on when support for the old setup is going to end. There's still a lot of Drupal sites running on versions that only support the old versioning scheme. So we'll likely support it for several more years to come. We are suggesting people to use the new semantic versioning scheme because that makes the most sense. Even the 8.x versions did not make sense for Drupal 8 because even if your project said 8.x, it may have internally required 8.3 plus or something if you needed some specific API from 8.3 onwards. So even the 8.x prefix was sort of a lie for some of the Drupal 8 projects. So now that the prefix is not there anymore, we have a more fine-grained possibility of defining core version requirements in the info file with Composer JSON, etc., that we now suggest people to use, but we still support the old way of doing version numbers for the sake of all the sites that cannot or will not update for some time.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Jaideep. Thank you so much, Gábor, for answering that. We have another question by Jaideep, but I'll take that just after I take an anonymous attendee's question. While this talk was about Drupal 9 and the state of it, some people are still curious about some new major features planned for Drupal 10. So what are some major features here?
Yeah, I think so. Drupal 10 is going to be built the same way we built Drupal 9. So we're going to put in stuff into Drupal 9, minor releases, feature releases. And then Drupal 10 will be the same as the latest version of Drupal 9 minus deprecated APIs plus dependency updates. So Drupal 10.0 will not have any new features compared to the last version of Drupal 9, which we believe is going to be 9.3, I think, yes. There's not going to be new features in 10.0. And then 10.1 onwards is when we plan to release new features. So the way we would go about with CKEditor 5 or some other WYSIWYG editor, for example, to replace CKEditor 4, is that we would add the new WYSIWYG editor into Drupal 9, and we would keep CKEditor 4 and the new WYSIWYG editor side by side in Drupal 9. And then we would mark CKEditor 4 as deprecated. We would tell you that we're going to remove CKEditor 4 in Drupal 10. And then the new features from the new WYSIWYG editor will already be available in Drupal 9. So when Drupal 10 comes, we reduce the number of features. We don't increase the number of features. So we are removing the old things that we don't support anymore. In this case, CKEditor 4. And whatever new WYSIWYG editor, it's CKEditor 5 or something else, with all of its new features, will be the only thing in Drupal 10. So that's how you can imagine the process from Drupal 9 to 10 onwards. And that's how we keep ensuring that the upgrade path from Drupal 9 to 10 will likely be the same or even easier than from Drupal 8 to 9. The reason I say it's probably even easier is because we have less time for Drupal 9 and the fewer minor releases. We've had 4.5 years for Drupal 9, and we only have 2 years for Drupal 10. And we also have more of the tools and processes worked out. So all of the deprecation tools and the processes are built. We can use the Drupal project upgrade bot to post patches to modules, even for deprecations in 9.1, 9.2, etc. So we can help projects gradually update to the Drupal 10 code base in Drupal 9 as we go on. So we will hopefully, now that people have a better understanding of how this goes, we'll hopefully have an even easier time updating to Drupal 10. That's the idea.
All right, thank you so much. So that answers that question. We have another question that's in chat by Dipen. He asks, other than Drupal 9 module compatibility, which aspect or initiative of Drupal 9 needs most attention from contributors? So what is the focus that you want to put more spotlight on?
So right now, the more contributed projects updated, the better. So if you look at dev.acquia.com/Drupal9, there's still 2,800 something projects that only need an info YAML file change. So if you or your company own projects on Drupal.org, the best thing to do right now would be to go in and fix the info YAML file and make a release of the project, because that would mean that people can start using those projects on Drupal 9. As long as the info file is not updated and the release is not made, in most cases, people are going to have a hard time to use those projects on Drupal 9, even if it's only about a one-line change in the info file for 2,800 projects. So that would be the best way to contribute to Drupal 9 right now.
Got it. Thank you so much. So now it seems that there are a lot of questions, but I'll try and run them as many as I can very quickly. So the next one is from Shiju Johns. They asked that what is the plan on Acquia certifications for Drupal 9? Drupal 8 certifications are still valid, or there'll be new ones for Drupal 9?
Yeah, my understanding is there's already at least one Drupal 9 certification. I think Site Builder. There's going to be more of them. But whether the Drupal 8 is valid or not depends on the company, whether they accept your Drupal 8 certification or not, the company that you are presenting your certification to. Since Drupal 9 is much less different from Drupal 8 than 8 was from 7, I would expect that companies would welcome your Drupal 8 certification as a valid thing for Drupal 9. I think what you need to understand in a Drupal 9 certification is in part the whole process of how you update from 8 and how 9 became from 8, etc., and what's the differences and how you make a project compatible with both. So there are some aspects that you need to understand that are for you to be Drupal 9 certified. But one of the huge benefits of the process that we did from Drupal 8 to 9 is, so long as you kept up to date with 8, then you understand 9. So that's one of the things, like Drupalize Me, they kept updating their training materials for Drupal 8. And so their training materials are Drupal 9 compatible as well. And that's a huge benefit of this process, that you don't need to retrain yourself. You need to go and learn Drupal again to understand Drupal 9.
Thanks for that answer. Also, I hope you're doing well. You seem to have a small cough, and so okay. All right.
That's fine. Thank you.
We have several questions. I think one of the questions now is around, upcoming strategic initiatives. Is there a list where, or any discussion where other upcoming strategic initiatives are, being updated or being spoken about and then shortlisted?
There are some strategic initiatives that I did not list in this session. That unfortunately I didn't have the time to cover all of them. There's the configuration management initiative, as well as a bunch of others. There's the Box Smash community initiative. If you go search for strategic initiatives on Drupal.org, you will find a more complete list. And there's also the community initiatives list. You will also find a bunch of interesting things that are going on. I think Dries is going to present a vision for what kind of additional initiatives he would like to see in Drupal 9 at DrupalCon Global. I don't have the answer to that yet, so we'll have the answer then in about 4 weeks. But there's already some more initiatives going on that I haven't had the time to mention, unfortunately, that are listed on Drupal.org.
All right. I think, I think the question was about around any upcoming initiatives. I think they are already aware of the existing ones, but okay, go on. Yeah. So
I don't have more data about the upcoming initiatives. We'll get more info from Dries in 4 weeks in the Dries note.
Got it. Thanks so much. One interesting question is around upgrading their website. So, who asked this question? So someone asked, should I upgrade the current Drupal 7? Is it Drupal 8 or Drupal 7? Wow, that question just vanished. Is it? Yeah, that question vanished. I'll just take the other one. So there was a question directed to you. Also, in the interest of time, this is the last question that we'll take. Can you please direct all these questions to Gábor on Twitter? Is that fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So on Twitter would be perfect. So which core initiative do you personally wish to land in D9 ASAP?
I'm really excited for Olivero because it gives us a whole new default experience of Drupal. I think the re-architecture from Drupal 7 to 8 enabled us to do a lot of great things. The dependency on third-party projects brought us a lot of benefits. And also the whole deprecation process and all the new features with media, layout builder, BigPipe, settings tray, etc. in Drupal 8 brought us a lot of great things. But if you install Drupal 9, it starts off with the same empty Bardic theme page that you've got from Drupal 7. So when you install a standard install of Drupal 9, it looks deceptively the same as Drupal 7, even though it's a much more modern code base. It has a lot of great features in terms of no-code, low-code list building with views and layout building and media library, and faster page loads with BigPipe, etc. So the default visual appearance of Drupal core when you install it is not really paying justice to the progress that we made in terms of the features and robustness and the APIs and the modern internals of Drupal. And so I'm really rooting for the Olivero team to get into Drupal and get to stable as soon as possible, because it would give us a much more modern, fresh look to Drupal out of the box when you install it. And the same stands for the admin theme, Claro, that we already have experimental in Drupal core, that would give us a similar new look on the back end and allow us to expose the freshness and the modernness of Drupal to users that is not apparent because we've not been visually updating Drupal as much as we've been updating it in the internals.
Thank you so much for that answer. So I think that that gives you an idea as to what Gabor is excited about. So thank you so much, Gabor,
Thank you.
again for presenting the session. It was really great. And if anything that you want to close on, over to you. And if not, I'll just take over.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a great conference. Keep up the great work and all the contributions from India. It's been amazing to see.
Thank you so much. Yeah, stay safe.